Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into the latest YouTube video. And as you know, it's Tuesday night, so I'm dropping my top waiver wire ads of the week as well as my top streamable defenses. Just in case we have any first-time listeners, I'm going to start with my waiver wire segment. I'm going to give you my top quarterback ad of the week, my top running back ad, wide receiver ad, and as well as my tight end and flex. Now, these players I'm about to mention, they have to have at least 50% availability on Yahoo rosters. So I am giving you guys some names that should potentially be out there on the market for you as you guys try to set your lineups, because it is another bye week. There's 4 teams with some crucial fantasy players on buys this week. We got the Bills, the Vikings, the Rams, and as well as the Ravens. So you guys might be looking for a quarterback with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen on their bye week. So just in case you are, as always, let's kick it off with the quarterback position. My top ad of the week, I am going to go with my man, Matty Ice, Matt Ryan. He's available in 72% of the leagues. Now, I don't think he's a long-term option for you guys, but look at what he did last week. He had 389 yards and 3 touchdowns. Those were season highs for him. And then, if you guys aren't aware of this, Matt Ryan's actually has the second most passing yards in the NFL through the first 6 games. Now, they are going against the Tennessee Titans this week. The Titans are allowing 21.1 points per game against quarterbacks this season. That's the 5th most across the NFL. And then when you look at what they did, what Matt Ryan did against Tennessee, because the Colts and Titans already faced. If you aren't aware, Colts and Titans faced off just a few weeks ago, and in that game he had 356 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. So he put up some numbers in their last matchup. They're allowing points to quarterbacks this year so far in fantasy. So if you're looking for a streaming option while maybe Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson's on your bench, or maybe you've just been streaming quarterbacks every week in a league that you're doing, I think Matty Ice is a great option for you this week. My running back out of the week is the guy that took me by surprise. I told you guys to start Melvin Gordon. That's on me. I don't think anybody in this world thought Latavius Murray was going to lead the team in touches, but he did, surprisingly. And Latavius Murray is available in 86% of the leagues. On that Monday, last night's game, he had the 15 rushes for 66 yards. You definitely want to see better production out of him, but when you're getting 50, actually he got 16 touches. He had a reception, -2 yards on 1 target. So technically he touched the ball 16 times. So that's volume. You always want to bet on volume. And the fact that they signed him off the Saints practice squad, and it only took him a week to get acclimated in their system, and they feel comfortable running him that much. Now there seems to be a disconnect between Melvin Gordon and the coaching staff. I could definitely maybe see a scenario where Melvin Gordon gets traded. Now, is Latavius Murray going to be the long-term option for you? Maybe not, but it is that bye time of the schedule, so you do have to plan ahead. You do have running backs that are on buys this week that you have to adjust to. So with that being said, if you're looking for an option, it might be Latavius Murray for you. At least add on your bench as running back depth and see how the situation plays out for him. Now, they are facing the Jets. That Jets defense is pretty good, but they've been in the middle of the pack defense in terms of fantasy against running backs. They've been giving up 16.9 points per game to the position. Again, I'm not sure exactly if this is going to be Latavius Murray's backfield going forward. But when you look at how many times he touched the ball, if you need running back help, you should be trying to get him off the waivers this week. My wide receiver ad, it looks like some people decided to throw in the towel a little too early on my man Chase Claypool. He's my man because if anybody remembers back in the summer, I love players that are in their 3rd year, and Chase Claypool is one of those 3rd-year wide receivers. And the thing is, he's been getting the targets. He just hasn't been as productive in fantasy as you'd like. Now, this past week, he did have these 7 receptions for 96 yards and a touchdown. He had 7 targets, and they do occasionally hand him the ball too, and he had a rush for 8 yards, so he had 104 yards total. Now, when you actually look at his targets over the first 6 games of the season, in 5 of the 6 games, he's gotten at least 6+ targets. So, yeah, I would like to get him up to like 7 to 9, but getting at least 6+ targets makes you at least rosterable on your bench and possibly playable, especially during the bye time. Now, this week, the Steelers are going against those Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are allowing 25.7 points per game. That's the 8th most in the NFL. So I know there's wide receivers on buys this week, like a Stephon Diggs. So I think Claypool would be a guy I'd definitely roll the dice on. He has a ceiling type of play, but obviously he has kind of a lower floor because sometimes he doesn't turn those targets into the production you want to see. Now, the other thing, though, the reason, outside of him getting those consistent targets every week, why I think he's definitely worth a bench ad and possibly even play this week based on the matchup, is it came out in a report today that teams like the Packers are looking to trade for a wide receiver, and apparently Chase Claypool might be out there on the market for a trade for the Packers or whoever may want to add a wide receiver. Now, can you imagine Chase Claypool all of a sudden teaming up with an Aaron Rodgers? I mean, sure, he would have to battle with Allen Lazard and those rookies for the targets, but man, all of a sudden you could see him hitting really his ceiling and having a higher floor. With a better quarterback situation. So, yeah, definitely if you're looking for a wide receiver help, go grab Chase Claypool. My tight end of the week, again, these are always a roll of the dice with the tight end position. I am usually trying to find you guys that are probably going to be, you're probably streaming tight ends at this point, unless you have a Travis Kelce or a Mark Andrews, but Mark Andrews is on a bye week because the Ravens are on a bye, so maybe you are looking for an option. And looking at the names, looking at who's been productive, I decided to go with Noah Fant. He's available in 89% of the leagues. Now, this past week, he did have the 6 receptions for 45 yards on 7 targets. Now, his last 2 games, he's gotten at least 5 targets in each of the last 2 games, and he's gotten at least 45 plus yards in those 2 games. Now, this week they are going against the Chargers. The Chargers are allowing 7.3 points per game to the tight end position, which is kind of like the 10 to 15 range, if I remember right, for teams. And then, but you look at the Greg Dulcich, that new Broncos rookie tight end, he caught a touchdown against those Chargers last night, right? So maybe Noah Fant not only gets those targets, he gets those receptions he's beginning, but he gets the end zone and gives you a ceiling type of play. So if you are looking for a streaming option on the tight end market, I wouldn't mind rolling the dice on Noah Fant. My flex ad of the week. This is a guy I mentioned 2 weeks ago on my waiver wire ads. I do like to see that his roster percentage has went up there since. But let's get him over that 50% threshold. That's my man, Alec Pierce, the rookie, who's a stud. He's available in 62% of the leagues right now. Now, this past week, he had the 3 receptions for 49 yards, and he had that walk-off touchdown for the Colts to help him get the win. Now, he did get the 7 targets. Now, I would like to point out, too, he did draw 2 defensive pass interference penalties. So you got to assume if pass interferences doesn't happen, he's actually given a legit shot to catch the ball, he probably would have got at least 2 more receptions, and those were like 10 to 15 yard passes too. So he should have even had a higher production from this past Sunday. Then what you look at what has happened for Pierce over the last 3 games, if you guys remember, I a couple weeks ago I said his role is going to steadily increase in this offense as long as he stays healthy and continues to show and earn the trust of Matt Ryan. Well, the past 3 games, he's gotten at least 6+ targets. So he's a guy that should definitely be on benches. He's a guy, if you need wide receiver help, I'll take the chance because they are going against those Titans. And when you look at the numbers in fantasy, the Titans are allowing 30.8 points per game against wide receivers this year. That is the 2nd most allowed in the NFL. And then, as I mentioned with Ryan, the Colts played the Titans just a few weeks ago. When these 2 teams face, Alec, I always mess up that name. Alec Pierce had 6 receptions for 80 yards in the last matchup. So if you're looking for some wide receiver he's definitely worth the ad. If you're definitely looking for maybe a streaming option because you got a bunch of wide receivers on buys, I would definitely turn Pierce's way. So again, my quarterback ad of the week, Matt Ryan. My running back ad of the week, Latavius Murray. My wide receiver ad of the week, Chase Claypool. My tight end ad of the week is going to be Noah Fant. And then my flex ad of the week, I'm going to go with Alec Pierce. Moving into the streamable defenses, again, just like in case we got any first-time listeners, these defenses, they have to have at least 50% roster availability. So I'm not like cherry-picking the easiest matchups that maybe only have 20 or 30% roster availability. With that being said, I was wrong on the Bengals last week against the Saints. I will admit that. but I'm willing to go ahead and roll the dice on them again. The Bengals against the Falcons. The Bengals are available in 64% of the leagues. Now, this Falcons team, they're feisty and they're scrappy, that's for sure. But man, they don't throw the ball a lot. They've only thrown the ball. Last game, Marcus Mariota only threw the ball 14 times. So, in my opinion, I feel like at some point defenses are going to understand that all the Falcons want to do is just run the ball against you, and they're going to start stacking boxes and dare Marcus Mariota to beat them with his arm. And at some point, some team's going to do that. And I'm just not the biggest believer that Marcus Mariota can push the ball down the field, especially outside the hashes. So with that being said, I'm kind of betting on the Bengals are going to finally be that team that does that. I mean, they got a good defensive front, like with a Trey Hendrickson and a Sam Hubbard that can create, the pressure. They got a good set of linebackers, and they got some defensive backs that can create turnovers. So, yeah, I understand I was definitely wrong last week, but I would take the chance on those Bengals against Atlanta this week. My number 2 streamable defense, I'm going to go with the Dolphins against the Steelers. The Dolphins are available in 83% of the leagues. This is because they're just going against an offense that hasn't put up a lot of points this year. Now, we'll have to see who will be the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, whether it's going to be Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky. In my opinion, I think it's going to be Kenny Pickett, just because Mike Tomlin said today he expects Pickett to practice fully all week, and as long as he passes the protocol, he's going to be back. That sounds like to me he's going to play, but there's still a chance that Mitch plays. But either way, I'm kind of okay with rolling a defense against Mitch Trubisky or a Kenny Pickett, just because it's a rookie quarterback, and rookie quarterback can potentially make those mistakes that do result in turnovers. And then if it's Mitch Trubisky just doesn't scare me that often. So I think Miami's a good little streaming defense this week. My other one, I'm going with the Jets against the Broncos. I can't believe I'm actually talking about streaming the Jets defense. But there's a couple reasons. First of all, they're available in 95% of the league, so there's a good chance they're available. But when you look at it, the Jets, they got been playing some good defense over the last few weeks. Look what they just did to an Aaron Rodgers led offense. Now I know that Packers offense is under some work, but the Jets still did some good things against them. I mean, Quinnen Williams is just balling up in the middle of that defense. They got a really great defensive front that can bottle up against the rush, and they can get after the quarterback and get those sacks as well. And then the guy like Sauce Gardner in the back end, they got Whitehead in the back end, C.J. Mosley in the middle. They got some nice pieces. I think I definitely was overlooking the potential of this Jets defense prior to the season. And then they're going against the Broncos offense. We all know that we've all been forced to watch the Broncos struggle in offense in prime time multiple times at this point. Their offense is not putting up a lot of points. And then you look at their offensive line, it's really weak right now. How often Russell Wilson was snapping the ball, and there's already a defender in his face. So you got that sack potential. Then it came out today that Russell Wilson's day-to-day with a hamstring injury. So Russell Wilson, he may play, he might not play. If he doesn't play, it's Brett Rippon. If he does play, he's got the hamstring injury. Then they had the shoulder thing too they were talking about last week. So he's kind of banged up. He's playing poor football. The offense stinks. They don't put up a lot of points. And then you got a young, feisty defense in New York where you can get those sacks and turnovers. So, man, that might be the sneakiest streaming play. And honestly, I put these graphics and everything together before I read the news about Russell Wilson's hammy later this afternoon. But yeah, man, I should have bumped the Jets defense up even a little bit higher. My number 4 streamable defense, I'm going to go with the Raiders against the Texans. The Raiders are available in 96% of the leagues. I mean, it's just because they're going against the Texans. I mean, I get the Texans have a Dameon Pierce. They still got Brandon Cooks, but Davis Mills wasn't playing that great before the bye week. I really don't trust that offense to put up a lot of points. And then when you look at the Raiders defense, they got a Max Crosby and a Chandler Jones up front. So I'm betting on those two guys are going to get pressure on Davis Mills, make him force those early quick decisions, or maybe you can get some turnovers. But more I'm betting on the sacks and the fact that the Texans, I don't think, will end up scoring a lot of points against Las Vegas. My number 5 streamable defense, I am going to go with the Giants against the Jaguars. The Giants are available in 95% of the leagues. This might be a deeper league play, a 12 to 14 team league type of stream. The reason why I'm going with this one is just because those Giants, again, they're kind of like the other New York team. They're just like this spicy, scrappy team. But man, they got some guys on that defense, especially up front. They got Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau is coming along. So they got guys that can dominate the trenches against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then I like there's pieces in the back end like Xavier McKinney. I mean, Julian Love stepped up last week and got the interception. They got some guys that can create some turnovers on the back end as well. And I mean, just the Jaguars' offense is kind of a gamble because they can be good on some weeks, and then other weeks they're turning the ball over. So again, this is probably a deeper league. Maybe you're not like rushing to play the Giants defense, but you're sitting there in a 14-team league. You're wondering who should I play? All the other options I talked about are gone. I would definitely consider taking the Giants against the Jaguars. So again, my top streamable defenses this week. Is going to be the Bengals against the Falcons, the Dolphins against the Steelers, the Jets against the Broncos, the Raiders against the Texans, and then the Giants against the Jaguars. So yeah, that is this week's top waiver wire ads and streamable defenses. If you guys have any questions, get in my comment section. You can always hit me up with a DM on Twitter. I'm at Cody Talks NFL. You can shoot me a text if you got my number. I always like to answer anybody that has questions for me. If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button. Go tell a friend to come check me out. I'm gonna keep on pumping this fantasy content throughout the season. Then I have some plans to be doing some more consistent type of content for the YouTube channel throughout the off season as well. So you want to subscribe so you know anytime anything's posted. With that being said, you guys will see me again on Thursday morning when I release my top starts and sits for this week. So I'm gonna hop off here. Thank you guys for listening. I'll check you later.